By late 1993, Colombia has spent 16 months hunting one man. He has evaded thousands of soldiers, police, and rival cartels. His time is running out. A specialized task force, the Search Block, has spent over a year closing in, using radio triangulation technology to track his calls. Once one of the wealthiest men in the world, he now moves from safe house to safe house, cut off from his empire, relying on a single phone line to stay in contact with his family. On the morning of December 2nd, 1993, his 44th birthday, one day earlier behind him, he makes a phone call. It is the one the Search Block has been waiting for. Within minutes, the call is traced to a middle-class neighborhood in Medellín, Los Olivos, a location, a house, a rooftop.
Search Block units move in fast, surrounding the block before he has any chance to disappear again. As police breach the house below, he climbs onto the rooftop, attempting one last escape across the neighboring homes. Within moments, gunfire is exchanged. Pablo Escobar is shot and killed on that rooftop, ending one of the largest manhunts in Colombian history. Officials move quickly to confirm his identity. Within the hour, the Colombian government announces to the world, Pablo Escobar is dead. The news spreads within minutes, across Colombia and around the world. The man behind the Medellín Cartel, responsible for a wave of violence that had terrorized the country for over a decade, is gone.
In Bogotá and other cities, many Colombians celebrate in the streets. Relief for a nation exhausted by car bombings, assassinations, and a war that had claimed thousands of lives. Over the course of the cartel's rise, thousands of Colombians, police officers, journalists, judges, and civilians had been killed. For many families, his death does not undo that loss. In the hillside neighborhoods of Medellín, the reaction is different. Here, many had known him not as a cartel boss, but as a benefactor, a man who had built homes, football fields, and paid for what the state had not. Years earlier, using drug money, he had funded housing for hundreds of poor families in Medellín. To this day, his legacy in these neighborhoods remains deeply divided, gratitude and grief tangled with the violence that funded it. As his family prepares for burial, word spreads quickly through Medellín. Thousands begin making their way toward the cemetery. An estimated 25,000 people turn out, far more than anyone expected. Many are neighbors and relatives. Others come from the very communities his money once helped rebuild. The crowd grows so large and so intense that the funeral procession is nearly overwhelmed. Mourners reach out to touch the casket as it passes. For many in the crowd, the grief is real and personal, regardless of what the rest of the world thought of the man they were burying. International media descend on Medellín, broadcasting the scene to a world that had followed his story for over a decade. Drug lord, terrorist, and to some, a folk hero. By the end of the day, he is buried in a family plot in Medellín, the same city that had made him one of the richest and most feared men in the world.
In the days that follow, Colombia begins to reckon with what comes next. The most wanted man in the world is gone, but the violence and the questions he left behind are not. Without its leader, the Medellín Cartel rapidly fractures and collapses, though new organizations will rise to take its place in the years that follow. In the decades since, Medellín has transformed. Once labeled the most dangerous city in the world, it is now recognized for innovation,
public infrastructure, and a determined effort to move past its past. His grave remains a site people visit to this day, some out of curiosity, some out of lingering admiration, others simply to see firsthand where the story ended.
Colombia's memory of him remains deeply contested, remembered by some as a monster, by others as a man who gave when no one else would. Both truths, historians argue, belong in the same story. More than 30 years after that rooftop in Los Olivos, Pablo Escobar remains one of the most studied and mythologized figures in modern history, a reminder of how far one man's violence and one man's generosity can both reach.